Peace and love, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for coming back to read and learn with T. Marie. That is me. Back with another reading of the Holy Bible this morning. Hope everybody's doing great. That you woke up on the right side of the bed or getting ready to go to bed on the right side of the bed. You have a good full belly. You're hydrated. You're centered. You're grounded. All that good stuff, right? And we are continuing on with the fifth and final book of Moses on Deuteronomy. And we are continuing on with chapter 23. I read chapters 20 through 22 last video, and a few little new things that I learned. In 21, I really didn't quite study 21, or excuse me, 20 too much, just because it was, I think it was pretty much all self-explanatory with that chapter. It was just all of the laws regarding the warfare and everything, mm, the guidelines for the soldiers and stuff like that. And they had to wash their hands over heifers and all that stuff. You know, Pretty much all I got out of 20. Even when I was reading it, I was just like, yeah, okay, moving on. And then chapter 21, that it kind of took a shift. Kind of took a shift. It went to the laws regarding like unsolved murders. And that one was really emotional. It was pretty emotional, that one. How they took these beautiful captive women, and then they had to shave their hair, pare their nails and all that stuff. And I was just wondering, like, why do they have to do that? And I guess, I didn't do any research on it, but, as I thought about it, I'm just thinking, like, maybe since she was held captive, they probably defiled the mess out of that woman. They probably did all kinds of crazy things to that woman. So if somebody took that beautiful woman in from being captive, sure enough, she's dirty, right? She's dirty. And so I would assume that they want her to shave everything off, start fresh. That's what that is, in my opinion. Like I said, I didn't do any, this is just all assumption. So please, if I'm wrong, correct me, but I mean, it makes sense. It does make sense. And then they spoke about the, you know, when people do these murders, or, what was it? These people who commit these crimes, they get hung. They get hung, and they've got to be buried immediately afterwards. So that way the land won't be defiled. And that just really hurts, to hear, to like read it like that, that they were specifically hung. It made me think back to slavery. Even today, we know we still have issues today where Black people are being found on trees, hung from a tree. It still goes on. History repeats itself, swinging us from right to left. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that that was used, like hanging people, was something that was in the Bible. And these wicked people, they do it today. They don't even bury us afterwards. They just leave us to hang and just leave the whole land is defiled, starting from them, the people that did it. That was just that was a sad chapter to read. Because I know, or I don't know. I really don't know. None of us know what really happened back in those days, but slavery wasn't a thing yet back then. I don't think. Who knows? But yeah, that was chapter 22, or 21, excuse me. 22 was just like the conduct laws of like just the basic laws of like returning property, don't be stealing nothing, returning lost property, and don't if a man dresses like a woman or vice versa, a woman dresses like a man, that is a no-go. That was actually kind of comical because look how normal it is today to do that. And it's considered very normal. And if anybody says anything against it, you get cussed out today. But God doesn't see it that way. God said you shouldn't be doing that. But hey, what can we do? And then what else? What else? Yeah, pretty much just that. And there was um there was building like roofs or something like that. That was prohibited because it was like considered like building safety features or whatnot. That was prohibited for some reason, you know. So yeah, that's it. That's about it for my little recap there. And I will continue on with chapter 23 today. Okay. So let's get it on. Let's get it. Let's get it. Chapter 23. He that is wounded in the stones, or hath his privy member cut off. Wait, hold on, repeat. He that is wounded in the stones, or hath his privy member cut off, shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Um, let me just go back. Let me go back to chapter 22, verse 29, just so I can transition. Because the way that started was kind of weird, because I'm like, what is his privy member? Okay, wait a minute. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 29. Then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he hath humbled her. He may not put her away all his days. A man shall not take his father's wife, nor discover his father's skirt. Chapter 23. He that is wounded in the stones, or hath his privy member cut off, shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. A bastard shall not enter the congregation of the Lord. Even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord. An Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever, because they met you not with bread and with water in the way, when ye came forth out of Egypt, and because they hired against thee Balaam the son of Beor of Pethor of Mesopotamia to curse thee. Nevertheless, the Lord thy God would not hearken unto Balaam, but the Lord thy God turned the curse into a blessing unto thee, because the Lord thy God loved thee. Thou shalt not seek their peace nor their prosperity all thy days forever. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou was a stranger in his land. The children that are begotten of them shall enter into the congregation of the Lord in their 3rd generation. When the host goeth forth against thine enemies, then keep thee from every wicked thing. If there be among you any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanness that chanceth him by night, then shall he go abroad out of the camp. He shall not come within the camp. But it shall be when evening cometh on, he shall wash himself with water, and when the sun is down, he shall come into the camp again. Thou shalt have a place also without the camp, whither thou shalt go forth abroad. And thou shalt have a paddle upon thy weapon, and it shall be, when thou wilt ease thyself abroad, thou shalt dig therewith, and shalt turn back and cover that which cometh from thee. Thou shalt not deliver unto his master the servant which is escaped from his master unto thee. He shall dwell with thee, even among you, in that place which he shall choose in one of thy gates. Where it liketh him best, thou shalt not oppress him. There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel. Thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore, or the price of a dog, into the house of the Lord thy God for any vow, for even both these are an abomination unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother, usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury. Unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all that thou settest thine hand to in the land whither thou goest to possess it. When thou shalt vow a vow unto the Lord thy God, thou shalt not slack to pay it, for the Lord thy God will surely require it of thee, and it would be sin in thee. But if thou shalt forbear to vow, it shall be no sin in thee. That which is gone out of thy lips, thou shalt keep and perform, even a free will offering, according as thou hast vowed unto the Lord thy God, which thou hast promised with thy mouth. When thou comest into thy neighbor's vineyard, then thou mayest eat grapes, thy fill at thine own pleasure, but thou shalt not put any in thy vessel. When thou comest into the standing corn of thy neighbor, then thou mayest pluck the ears with thine hand, but thou shalt not move a sickle unto thy neighbor's standing corn. All right, that was chapter 23. Okay, that was chapter 23. Hmm. Yeah, that was chapter 23. Moving forward, in chapter 24, when a man had taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he had found some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand, and send her out of his house. And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. And if the latter husband hate her, and write her a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand, and send it her out of his house, or if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife, her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife, after that she is defiled, for that is an abomination before the Lord. And thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. When a man hath taken a new wife, he shall not go out to war, neither shall he be charged with any business, but he shall be free at home 1 year, and shall cheer up his wife which he hath taken. Who's going to pay the bills? I guess they didn't have bills back then, huh? No man shall take the nether or the upper millstone to pledge, for he taketh a man's life to pledge. If a man be found stealing any his brethren of the children of Israel, and maketh merchandise of him, or selleth him, then that thief shall die, and thou shalt put evil away from among you. Take heed in the plague of leprosy, that thou observe diligently, and do according to all that the priests, the Levites, shall teach you, as I commanded them, so ye shall observe to do. Remember what the Lord thy God did unto Miriam, by the way, after that ye were come forth out of Egypt. Yeah, I remember what he did to Miriam, but nothing ever happened to Aaron. I remember that. What was it? Oh wow, that's a flashback right here. Remember what the Lord thy God did to Miriam, by the way. Yes. Yeah, I think it was it in Leviticus? I think it was in Leviticus. What was before this? Yeah, it was in Leviticus, I think, where Aaron and Miriam, they were what were they doing? Oh gosh, it's right on the tip of my brain. They were oh yeah, they were dogging Moses about his Ethiopian wife, and the Lord like did something to Miriam's face or something, and nothing happened to Aaron. It was only Miriam that it happened to, but they were both doing that to Moses. I thought that was odd. It's always something that they're doing to the women, boy. I think that is so funny. But yeah, okay, that was a flashback right there. Okay, let me just repeat and continue. Remember what the Lord thy God did unto Miriam, by the way, after that ye were come forth out of Egypt. When thou dost lend thy brother anything, thou shalt not go into his house to fetch his pledge. Thou shalt stand abroad, and the man to whom thou dost lend shall bring out of the pledge abroad unto thee. And if the man be poor, thou shalt not sleep with his pledge. In any case, thou shalt deliver him the pledge again when the sun goeth down, that he may sleep in his own raiment, and bless thee, and it shall be righteousness unto thee before the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not oppress a hired servant that is poor and needy, whether he be, whether he be of thy brethren or of thy strangers that are in thy land within thy gates. At his day thou shalt give him his hire, neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor, and setteth his heart upon it, lest he cry against thee unto the Lord, and it be sin unto thee. Yeah, help a brother out, man. It makes me think of all the homeless people that I always see. And the way that people look at homeless people just really it's really telling, you know. You can tell a lot about people the way they treat homeless people and the way that they treat addicts or former addicts. You know, you can tell a lot about a person by the way they treat those type of people. It's very telling. And I always pay attention to stuff like that. Okay, going forward. The father shall not be put to death for the children, neither shall the children be put to death for the fathers. Every man shall be put to death for his own sin. Thou shalt not pervert the judgment of a stranger, nor of the fatherless, nor take a widow's raiment to pledge. But thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in Egypt, and the Lord thy God redeem thee, redeem thee thence. Therefore I commanded thee to do his thing. When thou cuttest down thine harvest in thy field, and hast forgot a sheaf in the field, thou shalt not go again to fetch it. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all the work of thine hands. When thou beatest thine olive tree, thou shalt not go over the boughs again. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. When thou gatherest the grapes of thy vineyard, thou shalt thou shalt not glean it afterward. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. And thou shalt remember that thou was a bondsman in the land of Egypt. Therefore I commanded thee to do his thing. That's chapter 24. Yeah. That I remember a lot of these being told already. But geez, man, so if a woman is married two times, she's defiled. I agree with that. I really think when it comes to marriage, but life happens, but I really think, that's why they say till death do us part. I think marriage should just happen one time. I don't think I don't think getting married over and over and over again is going to solve anything. If it don't work the first two times, and you need to work on something within yourself. Right. Okay. One more chapter. Should I do one more chapter or should I stop? Oh, this one's kind of short. I'm gonna do one more chapter, y'all. One more chapter, 25. If there be a controversy between men, and they come unto judgment that the judges may judge them, then they shall justify the righteous and condemn the wicked. And it shall be, if the wicked man be worthy to be beaten, that the judge shall cause him to lie down and to be beaten before his face, according to his fault, by a certain number. 40 stripes he may give him, and not exceed, lest if he should exceed and beat him above these with many stripes, then thy brother should seem vile unto thee. Thou shalt not muzzle the ox when he treadeth out the corn. If brethren dwell together, and one of them die, and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her and take her to him to wife. I remember that. And perform the duty of a husband's brother unto her. That's wild too. I thought that was wild. And it shall be that the firstborn which she beareth shall succeed in the name of his brother, which is dead, that his name be not put out of Israel. And if the man like not to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate unto the elders and say, my husband's brother refuses to raise up unto his brothers a name in Israel. He will not perform the duty of my husband's brother. Then the elders of his city shall call him and speak unto him. And if he stand to it and say, I like not to take her, then shall his brother's wife come unto him in the presence of the elders and loose his shoe from off his foot and spit in his face and shall answer and say, so shall it be done unto that man that will not build up his brother's house. Wow. And his name shall be called in Israel, the house of him that hath his shoes loosed. Wow. They got to spit in his face. All because he doesn't want to go behind his brother. Man. When men strive together one with another, and the wife of the one draweth near for to deliver her husband out of the hand of him that smiteth him, and putteth forth her hand, and taketh him by the secrets, then thou shalt cut off her hand, thine eye shall not pity her. Thou shalt not have in thy bag divers weights, a great and a small. Thou shalt not have in thine house divers measures, a great and a small. But thou shalt have a perfect and just weight, a perfect and just measure shall thou have, that thy days may be lengthened in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. For all that do such things, and all that do unrighteously, are an abomination unto the Lord thy God. Remember what Amalek did unto thee, by the way, when ye were come forth out of Egypt. What did Amalek do? I don't think I remember that one. I have to look that up. I don't remember what Amalek did. But isn't that where no, I don't remember. I'm gonna have to go back on that. How he met thee, by the way, and smote the hindmost of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee, when thou wast faint and weary, and he feared not God. Therefore it shall be, when the Lord thy God hath given thee rest from all thine enemies round about, in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. Thou shalt not forget it. Right, that is chapter 25. I'm stopping there. Continuing on to chapter 26 in the next videos. I hope you guys enjoyed those chapters. If you do, please like, comment, share this video with a friend or family member. And I want you guys to have a very good Tuesday. Stay hydrated, stay blessed, stay grounded, and stay grateful. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace and love. Bye bye.